little. I wanted to maybe well, I wanted to first off maybe have Abigail, if you have the ability to just maybe kind of center us back based on what your notes were, and just kind of recalibrating where we left off on all of our conversations with Sandra, and just kind of where we left off on the strategy build, and just maybe do a little bit of a encapsulation there if you could.
Yeah, absolutely, not a problem. All right, so for 2 hours, we went over the entire, basically, the concept behind the mirrors, and had Dr. Tao in and explain the vast explanation of how it works, why it works, and in what ways it can work in synchronicity with other environments, and how our agriculture could actually benefit from these mirrors, and we can do algae farms underneath them, and there's a lot of different angles we can go at. And then we also talked about funding. We talked about who we want to reach out to and how to reach out to them. So basically we came to a general consensus that there's 2 prongs that we need to focus on, and that's public and private. So privately, we're looking at, CEOs, and we're looking at major corporations. We're looking at the Roman Illuminati, apparently. We're throwing that in there. And then on the public point of view, we're getting Greta in on this, Greta Thunberg, who will she's spearheaded the whole, vast discussion about global warming being something that's worth looking at. And but she hasn't had any answers, and this platform will be a space for her to grow. She'll bring her audience, and then on top of it all, it'll propel us forward into the next levels with funders and with establishment and the basic foundations that we need in order to succeed. So for this next, hour, 45 minutes, we are hopefully going to get into what our timeline looks like, what some specific goals are, and how we expect them to be accomplished, who's in charge of what, the phases or evolution of the product, how it's going to be funded, how it's going to be created, who our goal audiences are, how we approach each of these different audiences, because there's different messages per platform. And basically come up with a good PR standing. So our goals are to create a timeline of events, who's in charge of what our vision is going to be per audience, and how we're going to accomplish things. Any questions? I know there was a lot in there.
That was a good summary. Thank you. I think we're right back on track.
Okay.
Really appreciate that. So yeah, I just want to see, bear with me guys, I just want to see who's in the room with us. Let's see. Okay. Pardon the delay. Okay. Well, first off, is anyone in here in the conversation a little new, or is anyone new in this conversation and it was not part of the earlier conversation today? I just want to see if there's anyone new, if they had any.
Looks like Michael raised his hand. He's new.
Oh yeah, and
Michael Harris.
Well, I'm familiar with the general concept.
Okay.
For many months now, but I haven't been really actively involved in these conversations. But I'm really good at catching on, so don't feel like you need to catch me.
If you have questions about any piece of it, please just jump in and ask. And I mean, just about any of us would be willing to explain anything that might have, been a step skipped for you.
Absolutely.
So this is Michael Harris, and this is my first time joining via Zoom. I've been lurking for the last, I was on this morning for a while, and I come via Guy McPherson, and yes, pretty much through my following of Guy's work, and I've been involved in the challenge of understanding the climate disruption story for quite some time. So I'm pleased to be here. I'm not sure what this this segment is all about. I missed that on the agenda. I thought it said the youth hour. So you could maybe give me a quick.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we integrated a lot of kind of, we're weighing in of kind of how we're strategizing a pathway forward based on our last 2-hour conversation. So we're just all about strategizing, kind of putting together the next steps for the collective to move forward, and kind of putting in some opportunities for people to take on some roles wherever they feel they could best put out their skill sets to make something that they're passionate happen as part of the project. So it's all about kind of integrating with the group, integrating with everyone's skill sets, and outlining some, I would call them kind of outlining some silos or subgroups that we want to start compartmentalizing. And then, as those groups are compartmentalized, we kind of resurface and come and collect in this type of a forum, depending on what groups want to be working on what source of reaching out. So just in a quick summary, we got a source where Sandra is probably going to be leading much more of the institutional side of investments with a Club of Rome and United Nations and, CAP 20, all these different global institutions that you got to really poke at them to kind of come aboard. And that's a whole other strategy that she's going to be adding a lot of insight and a lot of experience to, because that's her realm. She's a member of the Club of Rome, and she's sort of a light worker that's working on the inside to really help infiltrate and change that whole structure around with a lot of other of her team members. Just to give you a quick synopsis there, we're also simultaneously working with another group that Jeff and his team are working on with One Hope Festival. He's going to be working with sort of the Greta side of things, potentially bringing on Greta to assist and be an influential member of her silo of bringing this general concept to the public's awareness and to all of her global movements awareness, Extinction Rebellion, etc. So we're basically tackling kind of two sides of, it's like a merger. It's like, we're kind of a broker of some sort, where we're kind of bringing these two worlds together. They're pretty much needed. They don't like each other, but they're needed to come together and collaborate, because everyone actually needs to participate on this project. It consumes us all. So we have some key people that have already stepped up to kind of take some leadership positions in creating some of those silos. And there's probably going to be some other silos that we can discuss on, there's a nonprofit silo. There's going to be, I would like to see what other silos we can brainstorm of kind of, how many do we need? I don't think we should do too many. I was thinking a maximum 5, and that's a nice number. And then going from there, we can kind of activate those silos into groups. We can even do WhatsApp groups. Of course, we can do things that I love what Jeff has, which is a whole Ring Central application where we can actually compartmentalize in one application different rooms that we establish that we can enter in at any time. So it's going to be an ongoing kind of work session, so people can kind of keep adding. Even when we're not doing these Zoom calls, like the core Zoom calls, we're not doing those. At least everyone else, they can split off and start developing, just some different ways to go about how to reach those different factions. So I think really what we're doing is just organizing some logistics and piecing together some leadership in those logistics, and kind of, breaking apart and coming together every week. Is kind of how I think it's going to flow. And where we come out with this is we're going to be hopefully getting a lot of things that people are looking for kind of, crunched out. So, Sandra gave us a lot to contemplate as far as what she's looking for Club of Rome and on all these institutions. Totally radically different package than what we're going to be presenting to Greta and her team. So totally different marketing packaging is necessary to reach out and kind of meet these different factions to where they are. One faction just wants to make a lot of money and hold it and depopulate, not to be too blunt. And the other one wants to basically, just groundswell an entire global movement, millions of people, houses on fire, we got to activate now, and kind of, bolster as many people to kind of start really pressuring the representatives and nonprofits and anything that represents them to start taking action. So we're not choosing one or the other. Both need to come together and work with us, but we're going to try to tackle these two sides simultaneously by strategizing within these different groups. So I'm rambling on a little bit, but I'm just trying to give you a bit of a perspective of kind of where things are currently at and how we can, move forward and make progress in these areas. So,
and Dylan, if I could just add real quickly in answering Michael's question, the topic for this period is SRM, solar radiation management. How do we?
Thank you.
Everything that Dylan said in the context of SRM, how do we cool the planet with SRM? And Michael, if you saw on there that it said the youth thing at 6 p.m., that's 6 p.m. Pacific time. You may have assumed that was Eastern time, but anyway, it's Pacific time. So yeah, we're on SRM for the next hour and 36 minutes, and then we have Spanish language conversation for an hour, and then we go on to youth. So back to you, Dylan.
Yeah, beautiful. And I was just thinking, just as I'm thinking in my mind, for instance, like Melissa and also Jeff, I mean, it would be cool to also integrate maybe the First Nation into a whole silo. There's literally 30,000 First Nations all over the world that I'm aware of, from the Philippines and onward. I mean, every single nation has a First Nation within it. So that could be a whole other silo that we do create to reach out to them. Just like in some of the earlier discussions, they definitely have their own sovereign banking institutions. They have their own ways of plugging some resources into this, and that's part of their common vision of protecting Mother Earth. So that's a whole other silo that I just thought of would be great for maybe Melissa and Jeff and maybe even Larry from before could maybe work on that, because you're working directly with the tribes. I'm actually ambassador for a Philippines nation, that I could throw in there as well. So that's just an example of, they need to be heard, they need to be integrated into the solution, and they do have considerable resources to deploy, just as an example. So Greta, the social movements, nonprofit, Sunrise Movement, all of that can be, on a whole other silo as well. And we can all add to that. We all have our people, we all have our folks that are doing that. And then what I thought would make sense too, from an engineering and kind of a technologist silo, and again, Dr. Ye and Guy McPherson have very limited time. They're doing a lot of stuff right now. But it would be great to maybe get some sort of a circle of support around Dr. Ye and just kind of start helping co-create what's necessary to build out a business plan or some sort of a pitch deck. I'm going to help him out with some media as well. I could even go down and interview him a few times and whatnot. So those are all in the works. But that would be maybe helpful to at least have a thread with them where, when they have time, they can respond to emails or respond to a WhatsApp group. If they really want to just kind of give that feedback if we need that. That was another thought that I had. So I'm just opening it up to the whole group now. That's kind of how I see it working out, to help us not bear too much of the burden more than others. So I would love your comments and thoughts to what I have just shared.
I definitely have a lot of thoughts and comments, but Jamin, it looked like you wanted to jump in a few times. Do you want to now?
Oh, no, I already stated what I was just trying to clarify to answer Michael's question, and I just want to note that Miles has his hand raised.
Noted. Miles, I'll come to you in just a sec. So I like everything you said. All of it I follow and agree with. I think definitely we need to, we need to start looking at leadership and, divvying out different roles to different people, finding out, whose skills fit what, and just kind of start building like departments almost. For those that don't know, Dylan knows my background a little bit, but I build nonprofits from the ground up, and I go in and I figure out what's wrong in other nonprofits and then fix theirs. So this is something where I kind of flourish, is figuring out who's good at what, how each person can deliver, and how to categorize people and sort of like put you into different realms to work with one another. So, when it comes to Dr. Ye, you're right. We absolutely need to have a small number of people that focus on him, get close to him, help him strategize with media and outreach and boost his status kind of on a few different levels, because helping him helps us, right? And the First Nations, that's a fantastic idea. I hadn't even thought of it. And we also need to separate and decide who all can sit and have like a private session on deciding the different kinds of packaging, as Dylan put it, the packaging per category or silo, on who we're reaching out to and how. I think each of these things are massive, and each of these things are separate projects. And, any one of us could be on 3 different projects at a time in this process, but we do need to figure out who can do what and in what groupings.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Abigail. And yeah, we can always like blend and share. I'm probably going to be in every group, just to be in every group and make sure everyone is in a good cohesive movement. So I'm definitely going to share some of that burden collectively with everybody that's working on this. But yeah, everyone has that opportunity to be like, oh, I also want to be in this group, and you can change, you can switch, you can, but I think, we should definitely designate, leaders that will kind of stick and really put that as their focus. And then again, all these leadership in the groups will come together in this form that we have right now, right? So we're all always bringing it all back together in a synergized way. So totally, it's going to be definitely organically blending of everyone's passions or inspirations.
I
So yeah.
absolutely agree. Identifying, leadership roles, but even the leaders, you're right, can, have their hand in 12 different pots at once. But I'm with you. I think that's fantastic. Identifying leader roles is a great idea. A way to organize this, maybe I just don't know all the aspects, but you mentioned WhatsApp groups, which is definitely an option.
Agreed.
Another one, so Jordan, he was on here earlier in the prior 2-hour session. Jordan is really good at coding.
Slack, right?
What?
Oh, coding. Okay.
Yeah.
You're thinking Slack too, right?
Yes, I was going there in a second. You know me well now. So Jordan actually has a really strong background in coding. So Dylan, I know you wanted to do like a 1-page website. Have you tackled that at all or started anything?
I have. Yeah, I have. I just created I just did a front pager on Wix, and
Perfect.
It's actually done partially by AI. I just put in the color codes and put in the text and dropped it all in, and it's literally done.
So
I have a 1-pager right now.
Beautiful. So
yeah,
if you wanted to send me any information about it, or I can even send you contact information for Jordan. Jordan can go through, and through Wix, he'll code from the ground up and build what we need, whatever it is, including, information, database storing, anything. That's not a problem for him. Okay. And then, so going over to the idea of Slack. So I guess an option for the website, Jordan could make those separate, sections per team. That way people can go, tab to tab and figure out who they're talking to, what their projects are. It can be as complex or simple as it needs to be based on what we need. He can do that. Or
that's great.
Basically the same concept without having to code and use Slack. And I would have no problem, figuring out all the rooms and data storage and, the integrative capabilities of Slack, because it has a lot to offer. But it's a matter of what the group wants. So we have options. We can do WhatsApp, we can do it all through a website, or maybe Slack. Any thoughts here?
I'm personally feeling great with Slack just because of how it can merge with Google Drive. It can merge with a lot of other apps, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Jamin.
And I'm happy to do an integration of a lot of different apps. Like we can do WhatsApp for some things, but yeah,
Absolutely.
I think for organizational purposes, I just think for you and Jordan, I think you guys might have a lot more stabilizing effect with Slack. You know, one place. You know, yeah.
I personally would agree, but I don't want to control everything. It's not for
Right.
me to take over. So, Jamin, did you have any preference on any of those options?
Actually, no strong preference myself personally, because I'm not the biggest power user of any of those. But I just wanted to note that Jeff and Lawrence are asking us to use Dylan.
Ring Central, right?
Yeah, right. So I just want to make sure that when we figure out what we're going to go with, we've looked at it holistically and maybe ask for different folks' input so they feel like they've been slighted.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Totally. So my big picture here would be, I would love to do my dream here that I think would work out the best with everyone's skills. I would love to use a merger of Ring Central and Slack. So I would love to see also if we can move everything over to Ring Central and Jitsi for the conference call mechanisms that we're doing and all the silos for conferencing. I just love that platform if we can kind of make sure it works well consistently. But I think a combination of Ring Central and Slack, I don't know if you know about Ring Central, Abigail, or Jitsi.
I'm going to have to do some research on it.
Okay.
But I'm making note of everything we're listing. I'm going to look through them and I will come back and I'll have a better idea of how integrative each of them are for our purposes and, give a better idea on what's best for us as a team.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. And available, but if you want to speak to any of that on your platforms, that's acceptable too. And I know Zion, you have a lot too, but I don't know if it's all ready yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I have a lot going on. I mean, but yeah, I definitely am happy to have met everybody and look forward to seeing how we can collaborate. And seeing maybe as I get that the Hemp Institute started in Florida, maybe there's some synergies there potentially, But yeah,
Sure.
however I can support. I'm already overwhelmed myself too.
I know.
A whole team.
I'm not adding anything to your plate. Don't worry.
But I'm happy to support and help where I can. Where if there's things that are complicated, and then on the development side, that's more along the lines of where I could really push things along there on the stuff like that.
Just because I want to go through and figure out who can do what. Zion, what is it exactly that you're saying you can offer? Sorry if that, I don't want to sound.
Well, I'm like I said, we should have more conversations. I mean, I'm gearing up. I'd have to understand in definitive terms on the technology layers where the doctor's at and what's being manufactured, and then I could come back and say I could do certain things. But basically,
okay.
I'm about ready to get funded, and we're building out a manufacturing facility that eventually we're going to extend into nanotechnology. But so that's all happening coming in June already, and so there's several groups, several investment groups, donors that I'm working with that there's potentials. I just have to understand more clearly, definitively where the whole project is. That's all.
Absolutely.
And Zion, if I could add to that, I think Zion, when we get to a bit of a later stage, you're going to really shine on deployment and maybe even manufacturing to scale. I mean, we could. There's so much possibility just with your logistical stuff. I mean, if we can get we need factories building these things. We need glass making. I mean, you're really good with all of that. So down the road, you'd be really great for
any of all of that. I mean, I think the first stages of where you guys are at, we got to get the storyline, the whole business plan, the model, the projections, the designs, all the scientific data, right? And then the whole presentation, like all that stuff's probably going to take a good, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, even with a big team.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I'm available. It's just like I said, I'm kind of in the same boat, just later stages. And there's a lot of synergies. I have a whole team. I've got like 30 people working with me already. So there's a lot of stuff. We just got to get specific with exactly what we're focusing on. I mean, I know kind of generally off of this conversation, but I gotta understand, technologically what we're facing on the build out. That's my main support layer, is just as a systems integrator.
So you'd be in the engineering silo with Yay, probably.
More of a systems integrator. I'm more like big picture thinking. Like I know a lot of systems, and Michael Gaio, he's like really good at programming. I know enough programming to navigate, but I'm more like a overall systems integrator, and I'm fast at kind of overall big picture stuff.
Okay, I made note of that. That's super helpful. Thank you, Zion. If you want to send me a private message with a best way to contact you, that way when things start moving, I'll know how to reach out and see if you might be able to help on anything that's relevant. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that depending on how funding unrolls for all of us, there's some clear layers, what I was describing earlier, because we're going to get into hemp building and compositing and manufacturing and nano. That's a clear working relationship in that area of topics. And then I do have an architect that's that we're working with, that's really 40-year veteran in carbon credits and all the stuff we were all talking about, that's an expert in that realm as well.
Wonderful. Awesome to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any last words, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just thankful to have met you guys all. It's been my passion, as Dylan knows, and for all of us, just to connect with other like minds to help heal the world, to clean up the world and make it better. And it's just, I'm happy to be a part of it, and to help however I can with all the capacity that I physically can bear. So
love it. I love all of it. Thank you, Zion. Miles, I believe you have your hand raised for a while. I'm sorry it took so long to get to you.
And just 5 seconds, Miles, before you jump in, I'm going to go ahead and take a nap. Again, the first time in the history of the block party that Jamin ducks out for an hour to take a nap. I'll be back just a little before 5. Rock on. You guys are doing great. I'm just so grateful that this community is growing so beautifully. All righty. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
I have the torch. No worries.
Thanks so much. All right. See you guys soon.
Okay, Jamin, have a good nap. It's good to see him getting some rest, because going 24 hours is too much. So have a great sleep. So I just come into the block party to party and socialize. And, what I'm hearing, I guess I did indeed miss some of the earlier conversations, but it sounds like some of the people here on the call are really working on some business strategy. That's where I'm just, again, I just come here to socialize and to party, because indeed anything I would do, it would have to be, in my context, in my jurisdiction. I'm in Alberta, Canada. There's different laws about setting up a business, chartering a business and such, but being able to eavesdrop on you, strategizing, you're dropping words of applications and things that I've never heard of before. So that's what happens here at the block party, and has happened in the social club before. People are sharing their experiences, their knowledge freely, and everybody can pick up on some of that stuff and go, oh, I never heard of that before. What I was going to talk about with respect to solar radiation management is that the thought occurs to me that First of all, I'm not sure if I'm unique, but since being introduced to Dr. Rao about a year ago and moving quite quickly away from meat and dairy, I'm not perfect. I still have a weakness for some baking that might be placed in front of me, and I don't know necessarily that it doesn't contain dairy or eggs. But so I try to leave the vegan lifestyle. But one of the things I've noticed is that it's been absolutely no hardship for me to say, no, I don't want to have that chicken, or no, I'm very fine passing on the bacon, or a piece of steak has no appeal to me anymore. So I don't know if I'm unusual, if anybody's on the call here right now and has had a similar experience, namely, once you move to avocados, olives, almonds, walnuts, fruits and vegetables of all sorts, it's like, why was I eating that flesh and drinking dairy to begin with? So that's the first point that I want to make. And to keep that in mind when I'm thinking about how Jorge and Sylvie talk about creating these edible forests, which are forests of multiple plants all thriving together, no monoculture. These reflectors are needed just as much as we need greenhouses. I'm up in Canada, and if you want to get a jump on your garden and have any chance of having a red tomato, you best start early in a greenhouse. So we create greenhouses. There are huge greenhouses all around the world where peppers and tomatoes are grown, and they're making a tremendous profit. So similarly, the thought occurs to me that these these mirrors will also serve the similar purpose in that in a natural forest, say in the Amazon, it's the canopy that reflects a lot of the radiation and keeps the lower levels of the forest cool and moist. Once the Amazon is destroyed, it quickly becomes a desert and you'll have a very difficult time in regenerating that multivaried plant life that is a healthy forest, because you don't have the cooling canopy. But these mirrors would actually quite likely, I'm thinking, serve as a temporary and artificial canopy under which a thriving forest, edible forest, could be created. So in summary, there's a tremendous market for fruits and vegetables and avocados and everything else we're talking about. There's money to be made. And if these mirrors actually pay for themselves because they allow underneath the temperature to be properly regulated, it's not actually a cost. You will actually have people saying, I'm going to make money off of these mirrors. So I wonder if anybody wants to talk about any of the things I just said.
Miles, I thank you for all of your input. That was beautifully said, and I love the connection you made with natural forests. It's actually a way I hadn't even thought about it before, and I think that's a fantastic way to put it. Thank you. I think we have started a conversation. I don't know how far we've gotten into it, but we have started this whole conversation about how the mirrors, we can set them up with algae farms beneath them. And the algae is just so filled with nutrition, and it'll actually become more nutritious than it would have otherwise because of the ecosystem that it creates. There's also been discussion, I believe most of this was brought up originally by Dr. Tao himself. Ye went into how when rivers meet the ocean, there's actually an increased level of nutrition, and the acidity levels are at prime in order to really produce really, really nutritious substances, and seaweed actually becomes more nutritious in those locations than otherwise. So yes, I think there's a huge market to be looked at when it comes to creating healthy foods and adding to agriculture, and there's a whole ecosystem that we can go into with it, and I think that's on the table, and it's been part of the discussion, and it's great to see that we're not the only ones that are thinking about it. So thank you. Do we have any ideas that want to bounce from here, or shall I guide us to something?
I have a question.
Please.
When does the Spanish portion begin? Jamin mentioned that earlier, that there's a segment that's in Spanish.
That's going to start in just over an hour.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Rapido, rapido.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. So we've been talking about how we need to try and build, I guess, departments is the best way to put it, because we're going to have all these separate projects and aspects that we need to focus on. I know we don't have a huge group right now, but of those that are present, does anyone feel that their skill sets or their knowledge or their passions really fit one purpose or another? And if you need me to, I can list off a variety of different things that we need to look at. Anyone, anytime. Okay, I'll give us some ideas. Let's see.
Abigail, this is Michael.
Yes.
Excuse me, hold on a second. I might have a coughing fit here.
Okay.
But let me
Fine.
try to get it out. I'm drawn to just say that I feel like prototypes need to be splashing in the water as soon as possible. So I don't know that my skill sets match that, but there's certainly an interest and a passion for supporting that effort, which it needs to happen necessarily in parallel with all the other development work that's being discussed. I don't know how to make that happen at the moment, but I just think it's a value or a goal that we ought to be strongly considering. I live very near the Long Island Sound, and I know that New London is fast becoming considered a port for the construction of offshore windmills, and it might offer a location for the manufacture and development of prototypes that we can throw in the water and tie them together and drag them out into the middle of the sound and start figuring out, how that's all going to work. So that's my offer at the moment.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I completely agree. We absolutely need prototypes. I guess I hadn't thought about that offhand on, the whole timeline of events that need to unfold. So thank you for mentioning that. I've just made a note of it. And to know, you said New London, was it? Off of close to Long Island Sound?
Yeah, New London, Connecticut. That's right.
London,
that's one larger city that borders Long Island Sound. There are others. There's Bridgeport, New Haven, and, Long Island. Long Island itself is on the other side of the Sound, and between the Connecticut shore and the island of Long Island, or the peninsula of Long Island, in between is this body of water called the Long Island Sound.
Okay, I'm following. Thank you. I just want to make sure that, when I write these things down, I'm writing them correctly.
Hey, Abigail,
yeah,
can I just interrupt for a moment?
please do.
We haven't met before. My name is Michael, and I just want to let you know I'm going to duck out now. Just wanted to tune in for a second. I've been involved with the Radish Project for a long time. I've definitely got irons in the fire in many different other places. I'm probably not going to be involved in depth with the SRM project, but I just wanted to just tune in for a while and get a sense of what the trajectory is. I think you're doing great. So
fantastic. Well,
yeah.
thank you for being here, Michael, and I appreciate you being around and wanting to know what's going on. If you wanted to privately send me some contact information, I would love to see, have a conversation with you, see where you're at with things and how we can best utilize your strengths.
Let's do that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll send you contact info now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael.
You bet.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, Michael.
Sorry, Miles, are you raising your hand? No? Okay.
I was just saying bye to Michael.
Gotcha.
Talking to me.
We're all good friends here. Bye, Michael. So, other Michael Harris. You were mentioning, okay, so New London, Connecticut, you said that there's ports, I guess new developing ports with windmills that are coming in?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have names of companies or anything like that that I can reach out to? I can do research if I need to, just if you had that information, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't have names of companies. The local utility is partnered with a European company to, I think it's Ørsted or something like that. I don't recall for sure. That have won the so-called bid in order to build the offshore wind farms. And so they're looking for places to stage materials and assemble these units or to load them onto the ships that will take them out to the location where they'll be assembled and erected. So I mention that because it's related sea duty, but it's also different, but it may offer a kind of industrial port that would support the manufacture of the mirrors that are intended to go into the ocean, at least in this part of the world.
Okay.
That make sense?
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for that information. Just a little bit more that you put into it is definitely going to make it easier for me to figure out who's who and reach out appropriately.
Yeah,
So
there is a port authority that may be appropriate to contact and ask some questions of. Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
And
that's
and that's something that I might be able to help with too. So put me down.
help with what process? Sorry.
Well, you're taking on the research on your own shoulders, and one of the reasons I bring it up is because I have the energy to be involved in that effort. So if I can help, let me know.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're good with research. What other things are you really good at, or you have a passion about that might be of use in any aspect of this entire process?
Well, that was where the energy was coming up, but I'll just mention that I have a project development background, so
Okay.
I'm kind of steeped in the process of taking things from concept to contract.
Okay, project development.
And that's in the energy field.
Super, super helpful. Thank you. Absolutely. I've got you down here now. Just like with previous people, if you want to privately send me some contact information, that way when things come up, I can reach out to you quickly. It's all at your own peril, guys.
How do we get your contact information, Abigail?
Yeah, here, let me just send it out to the whole group here. All right, there's my email. If anyone uses WhatsApp, I will figure out how to find me on it because I don't know how that works. Oh, okay. So, WhatsApp number. There you go. feel free to jot that down, anyone that's here or anyone that ends up watching this recording. So Dylan was the person who originally brought me in on this entire project. And the purpose is just because of the experience that I have with building organizations from the ground up, making, doing the research, doing market work, networking for the company itself, building departments and structuring them basically from step one until the end. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. That's why I might sound a little abrasive when I'm asking for everyone's contact info, but it's just helpful in the process of trying to, learn who's who and how each person fits into the whole fold. And in this process, I've kind of made like a guideline of things that we need to figure out. So for example, when Dylan was talking about like potentially having 5 different silos that we focus on, anyone with connections to like State Department type representatives of other countries, especially First Nations, that would be fantastic to include, and those are the people we can reach out and bring into the community, because that'll help our efforts in moving this forward. Something else, figuring out like, this entire process is kind of like a think tank type structure, but taking that same idea and using it to build the best ways for us to advertise to different groups. So the way that we approach, a CEO and try to get them to buy in versus, universities and microfinancing over, grants. There's so many different ways that we can tackle it, but each one requires a very specific lens by which we approach and present what we have and try to get them to buy in. So that's something else that we need to work on, figuring out what those different silos are and how we're going to shape our image for each one. So if anyone has ideas on, what those silos should be, because right now we've got, here, let me look at my list. We have nonprofits, we have First Nations, we have Greta's team, and Sandra for the Club of Rome. So if we have other ideas, I would love to hear it. Or if you have ideas on how we can approach any one of those in our presentation, I'd love to hear that as well. I feel like when people come back, we'll have more minds working. Let's see.
Hi, I'm Fred.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
I'm here. I'm good. I'm thinking about things that I might do, and one of them, or the one I'm most interested in, is contacting persons or groups that might have something to contribute. And I'm pretty sure they would, but I'm not sure what, if I were to go in on a sort of a cold call, what is the fundamental message? What is the basic message? What would, in 25 words or less, of course, you can't do that. What would you say to someone that you were trying to promote?
Well, so I guess that's part of the question that I was posing to the group just before is, so the way you present it is going to be different depending on who your audience is. So
right.
When you reach out, are you reaching out to CEOs or to nonprofit founders? What kinds of people are you considering in your head?
Maybe some spiritual, I don't want to say spiritual leaders, but yeah, people like that, and people who have potential to contribute money to further various parts of this project.
Okay.
What is a base? Okay, I understand that you have to tailor the message for whomever it is that you're
Right.
going
So
to approach.
if the people that, I mean, doesn't matter which group you're going to, the idea from all of them is, you know, that they would donate money or put money into it somehow. But if you're tailoring for, I guess, spiritual leaders is the way you put it, for that kind of a group, the way I would put it is saying, we as a company have a base goal of treating an illness because Mother Earth is sick. And so
Right.
this is us giving her that flu vaccine that she desperately needs. And what the way that looks is mirrors, very simple, very efficient mirrors that we can put on the ocean
Okay.
and help cure a problem without having to change your day-to-day activities right now.
Okay. So the initial thrust or whatever is SRM, is cooling the planet.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was a great line of question. Anyone else have other ideas like that?
Hi, Abigail.
Hi.
I just took a bite, so I haven't eaten all day. Excuse me.
I'm right there with you.
My name is Melissa. You saw me at my studio earlier with the salmon.
Oh,
And,
that's right.
I'm Jamin's partner, and I'm an artful activist. I use my art to help raise a consciousness around needing to take care of Mother Earth. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, because I build public art installations that are artful activist installations, and I've worked with the 350.org group. You know who they are? They're about
No, but I'll look into them.
Yeah, I think they're nationwide. Their headquarters, I believe, is in San Francisco. They have a very strong group here in the Northwest in Seattle. And so one of the things, groups, I think we should contact environmental groups like 350s, like Greenpeace. I've done stuff with Greenpeace. And I think what would be interesting is to actually have conferences, talks, presentations to these different groups to introduce them to the idea of SRM rather than carbon sequestration. So I would just wanted to propose that to your
You
list.
said rather than what?
Sequestering carbon as the main focus, but focus on solar radiation management instead.
So I'm not an expert on the science behind all of it. It's my understanding that the mirrors do work on the radiation.
Yeah, so there are two different things. Solar radiation management reflects sunlight back out into space before it becomes infrared and starts heating the planet. So it's before it actually can touch the earth or the water. The light is cast back up into the heavens. Carbon sequestration, that's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
Is sequestering or collecting carbon that's already been created from X, Y, and Z. So they're looking at, there are lots of different ways to do that. Anywhere from bull kelp, which does it naturally, to things humans have invented to sequester it and transform it into another material. Well, basically solid carbon. So a lot of, it's called drawdown, and a lot of environmental groups are focusing on drawdown, which is great, but it's too slow. And so that's great if they keep doing that. But of course, what we want to do is introduce projects like Yay-Tao's into the, to create a meme, if you like, or into the common language of people and organizations, including environmental organizations, this idea of solar radiation management and as a focus. So I think those are groups we should start connecting with.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah.
just because I'm trying to take notes, but I want to make sure that I'm accurately, recording what we're talking about. So you're proposing, instead of focusing on the mirrors per se, focus more on the concept of solar radiation management, because that's the more imperative issue that we can tackle before carbon issues.
The mirrors are solar radiation management.
Right.
One and the
But
same.
Well, they're
right.
one form
One form.
of, and
That's handy.
I think the more well-known form has to do with aerosols and spraying stuff into the atmosphere. I don't think that just simple mirrors are really in the narrative for when it comes to SRM. So yeah, I definitely echo what Melissa just said. I think a big part of our mission should be reaching out to these organizations that, might label themselves environmentalist, but they, for the most part, are obsessed with the CO2 story. And so I think we kind of need to make a
pivot.
Yeah, we need to make a pivot, and we needed to kind of divide between like sequestration as part of a longer term solution, but with the emergency solution being SRM, and then make a division there too between all of these aerosols and spraying stuff in the atmosphere versus mirrors, just straight up mirrors.
Okay, so are we saying in general that the concept is everyone's focused on one thing and we need to redirect their attention?
Well, with a lot of the environmental organizations, they are focused on carbon sequestration.
Right.
And it would be good if we could help redirect them to focus on some form of solar radiation management that's not harmful to the planet. So I don't mean spraying aluminum particles into the atmosphere or chemicals, but really projects similar to Yei-Tao. There's also ICE 911. They have a project as well. That's more to do with putting things on the ice in the Arctic that will intensify the white and reflect the solar radiation back out into space. So that's what I was talking about. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you for walking me through that.
Yeah, no problem. So 350.org, they are a big organization focused on carbon sequestration. There are others, of course, there's Greenpeace, Nature Conservancy. I mean, there's so many of them. But I think we could compile a list, and those are people we could get in contact with and start, as Michael Gaia would say, telling a different story,
So in this idea of reaching out to them and trying to pivot what the focus is, what is our ultimate goal by doing that? So let's say I call up Greenpeace, and whoever's running that organization, we schedule a sit down, and I make the point that they're focusing on the wrong points here, at least for the short term. This is why, this is how it works, the whole kit and caboodle. Then what happens after they listen to me and they say, great idea, now what?
Well, if we go back to what Sandra was saying earlier this morning when she was talking about the Club of Rome, it sounds like we need to lobby for, say, Ye's project. We need to get a consensus. And so I think if there's more and more of a public consensus or these organizations that are backing particular ideas, it creates movement. Right now, things are very fragmented. So it's a way to pull things together and laser focus on one thing and then move that forward because of, for example, public opinion, consensus, etc.
Okay. So, all right. thought experiment. Same as last time, we got a meeting, we had a great meeting, we explained to them why they need to look at a different point of the equation. They understand, they like it. We go to over the 350 and do the same thing with them. We do it to 12 different organizations. We basically lobbied all of them. They're on our side. Do we build a bill and send it to Congress and have them back it? What kind of movement are we trying to cause specifically?
Yeah.
Can I interject here before you go down that path, please? So the first thing I just want to mention is, does anybody recall why 350.org is called 350.org? Because, yeah, you want to go ahead and
go ahead. I got my mouth full forever.
Yeah. So when they formed, what, 10, 15 years ago, it was believed that the upper limit to the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere that we could live with was 350 parts per million. And does anybody know where we're at right now? 420, something like that. It's like way, way over. So the whole idea, the name of the organization has been eclipsed. But anyway, that's an aside. I just also want to say that when you were saying, Abigail, how what's the next steps? It seems to me, and then given the conversation that we just had for the last few minutes, there is a task that's really important, which is somebody puts together a one-pager that tells the story. And the story is that temperature is the issue right now. And go back and watch Ye Tao's presentation of how we have plenty of room between the upper and lower bounds of carbon concentration in terms of the viability of life on the planet. But we don't have a lot of room above us in terms of temperature. And that his proposal, which is brilliant, is to start dealing with carbon dioxide emissions and temperature as two separate things. And the most important thing is to deal with the temperature right now, because we've got plenty of room in terms of carbon dioxide to still have life be viable on the planet. So that's why SRM, it becomes so important. So this story, and if we put it together, we talk about the fact that carbon emissions now represent 1 to 2 degrees of temperature rise out of a potential for 8 to 10. And that the other 8 are not related to carbon dioxide emissions and reducing those emissions. So we're barking up the wrong tree anyway when it comes to reducing carbon emissions. So that those two elements of the story can be actually really simply put. And then when you put in a global dimming aspect, which is if we reduce industrial activity and reduce the amount of aerosols being dumped into the atmosphere, we're going to increase the temperature again because of the loss of that dimming. And that puts us in the middle of a real conundrum, a catch-22, where we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. This is not a complicated story to tell, but we need to get on the same page. Somebody writes it up in bullet points on a one-pager that anybody that's going to be doing outreach needs to internalize this story thoroughly. And that conundrum points to this idea. I'm not a fan of geoengineering, but in the absence, there's no choice when you start to understand the way the elements of these stories come together. And that is why SRM is on the table today, and why it's the main topic. So I did that real fast, but I think that assigning that task to somebody as a one-pager, and there's people that know that story better than me, and certainly I've learned aspects of it from Guy, and Ye's presentation that I saw in one of these videos here was literally brilliant, and the idea that we're gonna separate CO2 sequestering from the temperature issue is a huge part of that story. So that's it. Just make that a task for somebody to codify the story in a very succinct and simple way. But then you bring that to don't go to Greenpeace and say you've got it all wrong. And I don't think they're going to receive that really well. But we need to be able to tell this story, very well and very convincingly. And the science is there. It's based on science. Even though we're going to tell it as a story, it's firmly grounded in science. And I think if this group wants to promote SRM, we got to get that story internalized.
Melissa?
Oh yeah, thanks. Michael, thank you very much. That was very succinct. I really liked how you presented that. I totally agree. We can't say, well, you're wrong and we're right, sort of dealio. But I think within our group, possibly there are connections with these different organizations. Like I have worked with the 350s, and I've already put a request out to one of the directors about, for example, having Jamin come and give a talk to them about SRM, which they're potentially open to. So I think there are ways of kind of infiltrating that way in a positive way, just to educate and inform. Of course, people can draw their own conclusions from that, but that's kind of the approach I would take.
Okay. I like everything we're getting into. James, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, in regards to the environmental groups, we need to approach environmental groups as Michael was saying. We can't just come and tell them that they're wrong about CO2 or anything like that. That's the wrong approach. We need to approach them in regards to the same way we approach all the other groups, that we need their help with the same goal. But the priorities that we have in the same goal are slightly different, and that we just need to, you see, all the environmental groups have the same thing in common with us. We're all talking about what's something that's scientifically backed up, and just basically the CO2 is scientifically backed up, as is now the SRM. But the majority of people on the CO2 story are not aware of the SRM. So we need to change the paradigm in thinking in regards to what is the priority with everyone here who has the same goal, including the environmental groups. They're just not aware of the SRM being the priority over the CO2. Once they're aware, like show them Professor Peter Wadham's talks on about how quickly the ice is melting and how much of a drastic situation that's going to be for us within a very short time. Show them the science behind it. Show them that, yes, the CO2 is a drastic situation that we need to deal with, but unfortunately it needs to take a back bench to this priority here now, because without dealing with this one, we can't go on to draw down the CO2 afterwards. I mean, Extinction Rebellion now are protesting outside mines there yesterday in Northern England, and they're doing what they think is right at the moment, but they're advocating for the wrong thing. They're advocating the shutdown of mines and the shutdown of industry and the drawdown of CO2. First of all, we don't have the technology to draw down the CO2 on a mass scale anyway, but we do have technologies available to us now at the moment to start implementing the SRM, which is the priority. As regards to the other different parties that we need to approach, we're also approaching them as we would with the environmental groups, from the point of we're looking for their help to achieve same goals. With Greta, it's the same goal. With the spiritual side of it and the First Nations, we're humbly coming to them to ask them for their help, because of the fact that we are only becoming into the realization that they were right all along. So, I mean, basically, we're humbly putting ourselves at their feet for their help in this, which is, again, a same goal for them as well. We all need to help each other to save each other. That's about the size with it. You could take philanthropists. What does a philanthropist want? He wants to get his name in history. Obviously, for being a decent person and doing the right thing and trying to help as many what he would consider deserving cases during his lifetime. He will be, that's why he's there. That's why he's a philanthropist. But ultimately, his name he also wants his name remembered. Well, what better way to have your name remembered in history than to save history? So you need to tempt people with all sorts of different things. But we still have to let them all know the one priority is SRM and why.
Well said. Mark?
Hi, I'm not going to take a long time to introduce myself. I've been sitting in through Facebook and realized I wasn't part of the talk, and I felt the need to enter directly. I would like to share maybe, are you familiar with the Buckminster Fuller Institute, who's forwarding Bucky's work? Amanda Joy Ravenhill, who's leading that.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the name of that group?
Amanda Joy Ravenhill. She's the executive director, I believe, right now, and it's her title. And she essentially wrote the book on Project Drawdown, what led to all this work. And so I'm thinking that's the person you might want to talk to at this stage of this project to understand how all these need to come together and work together as quickly as possible and understand each of the projects and ideas, but also to her experience over the last decade of what it takes to move mountains and communicate the change in story that needs to happen will be worthwhile, the interaction with her, I believe, if that could happen.
Love it. That's fantastic. You said Amanda Joy Ravenhill. And what organization is she with?
BFI.org, Buckminster Fuller Institute.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I made a note of it, and that is definitely going on the to-dos.
Yeah.
Michael, your hand is raised. Did you have something to say?
Oh, that was from earlier. Let me go in and unraise it. Thank you.
No problem. Do we have any sparked ideas, thoughts, goals, wants to accomplish, anything? Comments? Well, I think we're really getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty, and I'm really happy with where this is all going. Does anyone in this group have any kind of background or experience with public image or managing PR? Nope. It's okay. It was worth an ask. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes. Okay. We keep going back and forth on when it comes to like tax credits and carbon emission credits. Does anyone have any like actual experience in the field of, well, environmental taxes basically, but utilizing tax credits in a way to basically take Fortune 500 companies and convince them that they save money by investing in us because we offset their carbon levels? Anyone at all knowledgeable about that concept?
I think that, I might be wrong, but I think Jeff is way into that.
Okay, I'll make note.
Dylan.
Yeah, and Dylan's connected to Jeff.
Okay, I'll get Jeff through Dylan. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm here now if you guys need something. I just heard my name get called and I stopped what I was doing.
Oh, do you have a minute, Jeff? Because if not, I can just get your information from Dylan.
Absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to go into the whole concept of tax credits, and I wanted to see if we have any working knowledge or experience in dealing with them, in that Fortune 500 companies, in order to offset their carbon levels, they can invest in a company that, like us and what we're going to do, and they would save money by investing in us and offsetting their carbon levels.
If I understand you correctly, you're talking about a tax write-off in our case for when we start a business, to get a write-off to take advantage of any funds we take in and not pay taxes on. Is that what you're asking me?
Not for our company, but for others, like using that as a way to get them, to entice them, bring them in. Are you familiar?
Well, I mean, the situation with our carbon credits right now, because you guys have not been updated, is our 250 million has been verified, and it's about anywhere from 3 to 16 or 17 to 1 from what I understand. And it's a lot higher in third world countries like Brazil, where these are issued or at the moment. And we can now go to sponsors and say, you're looking for offset? We got offset. We can take your dollars. And not only that, we can take those investment dollars. And as a foundation, obviously, it's a write-off. But they will get a tax write-off immediately for that donation. So that's a double benefit for them. Not only are they getting their carbon credits, they're getting a tax write-off for what they donated to us as a write-off. And they get their name put up to be a hero of basically what we're all trying to do here. So I was just looking at this whole carnivore virus just a little while ago, and I noticed that in China they are actually really doing what is intelligent in how to deal with this, because the carnivore virus really, guys, is no big deal. It's not. It's just another thing in the soup and mix of viruses we've all been around all our lives and generations. But they're dealing with it, and I noticed that they had 3M on, which that's Dow Chemical. Dow Chemical is a pretty big company on the planet right now. It's talking a lot of stuff that I'm sure a lot of us would agree is not good, including Monsteranto. So if we work with these companies that can, to everybody else is the enemy, we can actually make them kind of the heroes. It's almost the kind of the hands of respect Stan Lee thing that we're working on. We'll share that with you shortly, the Avenger thing. Allows everybody to be a hero here. Nobody has to be the bad guy anymore. Everybody gets a chance, get a second chance, third chance, fourth chance. In these guys' cases, a millionth chance to clean up their act and their spiel and do it the right way. This gives them the opportunity to do that, and we can use their dollars to do that. They can get a tax write-off, and then they can get their name put on there. That Dow Chemical helped us save the world, or create the biofilm that created the reflective material, or whatever we can use a company like that in a good way. So I don't know if I'm getting off topic from your tax issue or the exact question you were asking.
You're super on point.
Okay. So the benefits of us now, once we have the green lights, which is hopefully any day now, guys, you can go to all your people, your sponsors, you know somebody at Coca-Cola, it doesn't matter who they are, everybody and anybody. Call them all. Cold call them if you want. Say, you guys looking for carbon credits and a tax write-off? And if they say no, then we don't want to work with them in the first place. We'll just put them on our other side of the list, the what I call B Corp, or Be the Change Group. I don't know if you're familiar with the B Corp guys, but I would really like to flood the B Corp here. And Ryan Honeyman and what he's done there at B Labs like Brett is just incredible. And all it is just a simple verification, because like Patagonia, 7th generation, Ben and Jerry's ice cream, they're all B Corp certified companies, meaning that what they do, they have environment first and foremost. And in some of these companies, they actually solve an environmental problem and profit from that. And the profit goes back into the environment again to actually create not only a solution solved, but a benefit to the planet from that solution that was a problem. I mean, that's like thinking, biomimicry type stuff. Bucky, I mean, I love Bucky. When you guys mentioned Bucky right now, so it also caught my attention. Then I heard my name get called, and I'm like, let's see what these guys are talking about. Bucky's my hero. So now, you guys want to know where to go to start educating yourself on this stuff. And this one I'll probably type in here. It is Gemstone University. Typing it in now. Make sure I have it correct. University.org. There you go, everybody. And the source of that came from the society structure, basically as churches are structured and the Vatican structures themselves to protect themselves, protect their assets, protect their land, protect everything for future generations for thousands of years to come. It's the same basic structure, but done in a transparent or, transparent. I mean, when you do things transparently, nobody can say you're doing anything wrong because it's all right there for them to say, there's nowhere to prove that you're doing anything wrong. So this came from Pantera. And this is my friend Ken Cousins and his wife Andrea that have done this miracle work for all of us. Oops, am I typing in here? No, I'm not. I notice every time I'm trying to type something, it starts to take my cursor like it just did right now. I typed through that and my cursor's gone. Pantera, PCA, Private Contract Association.org. There you go. Okay. Did you get that? Yeah, it's not an email link. Put an HTTP in front of it, whatever. Anyways, Gemstone is where you go to the source for learning all this knowledge. And yes, there's a membership fee, unfortunately, at the moment. It's all about to shift in a major way because of what's going on, not just with Live Hope. That's completely separate from this. But with Live Hope and what's happening with Live Hope and going to happen with Living Hope, that's where we're going to actually have cameras that are connected. We won't need this Zoom. You guys will get cameras sent to you. These little badass 4K, almost like pretty much a GoPro, 30, 40 bucks. We get them out of China, and they're badass. And you guys will get your own camera there that you can place wherever you want and stream what you're doing there and share it with people. And then you can launch your own channel. We can network. We can talk about all this stuff all the time in real time, anytime you want to. You don't need to wait till Friday to have a 24-hour thing to do. You're plugged in all the time. And of course, you can shut it off if you want privacy. It's just like a regular connection. And I'm not getting off subject here, but what's going on with Gemstone is, well, I really can't get into that until you guys are members, but you can at least see enough at university.org or gemstoneuniversity.org. Message them, let them know. Jason is the one actually handling the front end on that at the minute, the admin. His name's Jason. We're using Unseen. So I recommend a lot of us that really want to get serious with a lot of stuff we're doing right now, get set up over on unseen.is out of Iceland. Very, very well encrypted. We're doing all of our stuff there at the moment with Gemstone. Matter of fact, Josh, who you guys will be dazzled by when you hear him speak next on Gaia Solutions and what we're doing over there, is setting up our entire structure based on what Gemstone is all about. And I've been working in this legal world myself for a long time, so this is nothing new to me. I've known Ken for a long time. I've put him and his wife in a home. I've shown my support for his vision in the, on solving the matrix of the legal world, the law and the courts and what they're doing, and admiralty law and military law and all the stuff that's going on. How we don't have any rights to the constitutional contract. We're not party to that contract that was written for the forefathers, not for us. People just, I have constitutional rights. Well, no, you don't. So once you correct your status through what Gemstone has a process called status correction, you actually cancel all the contracts you've been bound to. And binding and spelling is what this is all about when you want to get down to the root of it, when they use Latin and words to actually bind and spell us into submission, into what we're all right now chattel property to whatever state or organization, corporation in this case, like the United States. I'm in Mexico. As far as I know, Mexico created a corporation as well, but they're still operating in a somewhat sovereign fashion. This new president should hopefully fix that, because he's going back to the indigenous, and that's why I'm so glad I'm here. But Gemstone is where we all need to start sharing with our children. I've got 5 myself, 5 grandchildren, 5 children, and I've got 3 or 4 of them now really starting to study this stuff and read it and get it and understand it. And all it's doing is just teaching you the reality of the truth of what law is, what common law is, what words mean, what communication is, what understanding is, what comprehension is. Comprehension is one of the biggest things people have an issue with these days. They don't comprehend what the other person's saying. Matter of fact, Josh is working on a teaching modules right now to teach what we are doing over at Gaia Solutions. And I can put that link in there if you guys want to check that out. I'll start here on the adventure. It starts here. Greener Tribe.
Jeff, you're living
questions. Questions. I'm sorry?
Are you livinghope.org? Is it livinghope.org? Your group?
No, Living Hope is livinghopefestival.com.
Oh, festival.
Right now at the moment. Yeah, livinghopefestival.com. And here's the greenearthtribe.org. A little something I threw together just to kind of really ground people out, especially with the tribal people working with the tribes. I am known of these ideas. This came from Marshall. Do you have a question, Marshall? Are you good? Should I keep going?
You're good to keep going.
Yeah. I'm just trying not to get off topic here, because I can go down a million rabbit holes with Alice in the Wonderland on this stuff, because it's just so fascinating to me. But a lot of people don't comprehend it, and they can't grok it. So until we can actually teach the way to understand something like this and comprehend it, we don't understand what a decentralized system truly is, to live in one. That's why I'm so grateful for Brett. We all need to learn how he speaks and the words he uses, and start practicing those, and take out words out of our vocabulary that we still use that spell and bind us into this reality we don't want anymore. We're doing it. We're all responsible. So this is, Gemstone is literally the magic mushroom key all the way through in the legal realm to free you from the bonds of Matrix, literally, at every level. And it takes you out of the old system of necromancy. When you sign your name in cursive, you're actually sinning, or signing is to sin. To sign is to curse. Cursive is to curse your name in sin, which is why we sign in cursive instead of printing upper and lowercase like you're supposed to with certain punctuations you're supposed to use correctly. That mean you actually comprehend what law means, and you know you're not a adverb or verb or a fiction or a person, because a person is not an actual human being. People don't understand this stuff. Yes, they're correct. They use all caps, which is, you can refer to the short term of it as your straw man, but that's your corporation basically, and that's not you. So if you appear in court when they call that corporation to the window or to the barrister's podium, and you show up and say, "Here I am," you just assume responsibility. So when she was talking about tax write-offs, that really took me down that rabbit hole. And the reason I went this far with it is because what they're doing at Gemstone, when you set up your estate correctly and you clear your personal as a vessel, your vessel's debt, any debt it may have created, and I've not seen this yet, so don't take my word on it, but I've heard you get 4 or 5 stars next to your name on the end of your passport, and that signifies when they see you going through ports that you are a debt-free citizen of the country you were birthed in. Meaning you carry no debt, you've created no bonds, you've broken no contracts, you're free to travel. The only reason we need these contracts stopping us from traveling at the moment is because we all create debt from the moment we're born. Whether you know it or not, whether you're rich or poor, you create debt because we're operating in a debt system. And we're actually being used as that debt at the moment. They're using our physical bodies, which is the scariest part. That's why the movie The Matrix is pretty damn accurate. They're using us for our energy, our consciousness, our thought, our creation, our creative powers. They're controlling our thoughts so we can create the reality they believe they need to live in. You know, they're freaking out right now. They're literally freaking out right now. So the faster we free ourselves, we can't free each other. That's one thing we cannot do. None of us can free each other. I can't help any of you. I can only guide you with what I've been learning and what I've learned myself, that I've done and experienced myself firsthand. I mean, I've never been in state jails of any kind on quick case, but I've definitely done federal time. And literally what I did pioneered this technology to prove the fact that there is an old man behind the curtains pulling the strings. And once you understand how they do their thing, and you do it with honor, of course, you're not fighting them. We don't sue them. We don't attack them. We don't hire lawyers to go after them. None of that is a posture of peace. The only posture of peace is to accept whatever they say. You did this, you did that, you did this, you created that charge or this crime or this whatever. You accept it, because under public and private law, when you accept something, you open up a whole new avenue of actual remedy that you never have when you go into court attacking the system. So why I'm getting off on this and the tax write-off stuff, because we all create a tax, and that's the debt we all create. The sooner each one of us do our own part, we're actually releasing debt for the entire country that you're in. You're helping your brothers and sisters. You're truly making an impact as an individual by removing this stuff from the debt system. It removes it from the register. We owe a lot of money to China right now. We owe a lot of money to a lot of countries right now. We've broken contracts with them by invading their territory and putting military bases there without agreement. That's a violation. That's a breach of contract. And that's what's pissed off a lot of countries on, whoever or whatever. And I'm not going to get into the politics of Trump, but let's just say he's doing his job and he's doing it well. And I predict we'll have him one more term. For those that don't like him, whatever. I'm not into politics. I don't care either way. To me, it's a circus show. And once he's done, that's it. We will have no more presidents anymore. Yes, hand up. Go ahead.
No, I was just giving you the high five hand wiggle. Just going, yeah, I agree. You're right. Circus show. Circus show at the end of the world that we knew and the beginning of the new world.
Well, again, I don't know if I've seen this here about operating in the fifth dimension. No, that stuff we're talking about over here between me and Brett. Okay, fifth dimension. We're actually in the fifth dimension now. All we can do to slow what's happening in the speed time of time, which is not even real. I mean, just in our reality of thought that it's happening quicker. Like Brett said, I just want it to happen now. I personally feel like I'm a horse at the gate. I am like bursting at the gate, ready to just, because I know exactly what to do, exactly where to go, exactly who to call. Step 1, step 2, step 3, on many different avenues. Right now, it's focus is the hemp at the moment, because we've got just an amazing situation down here, and it leads right up to the president. And if we do this correctly over the next few months, we will be the sole supplier of a specified breeder seed for hemp that you can create over 21-to-1 genomes to create anything you need to do with hemp, whether it's pull CBDs, pull herd, pull biomass, for whatever purpose. We're not doing anything consumptive yet, so we're going to need the least expensive permits, because we're just going to grow herd for cement and bricks and no biomass and seeds. We're just going to stockpile seed right now. So that's got me very excited. So that's what I'll be doing down here, and then building these biodome technologies that I'll be showing on here as we develop this stuff. So this is the boots on the ground happening that I'm doing at the moment, working with several other teams, like, you know, Zion's and his stuff. I mean, the whole hemp world is exploding, as we all know. That's our magic ticket to heaven, literally, is hemp, on every level for everything possible. I mean, the only other thing I can think close to it is the moringa. And of course, things like avocado and certain sacred plants that are very key to having everything of the plant is completely useful and completely advantageous to our health. Gets rid of all disease, gets rid of all sickness. We don't need to build or create or invent anything. We just kind of help nature do its thing, and it'll heal the problem we've created, literally. Biomimicry. I'm all about biomimicry. And Bucky, of course, you know, don't try and fix the existing system. Good luck. You're going to die trying. Go do it somewhere else where you can not be bothered. And right now, from what I understand, the only two places on the planet are Russia and Mexico. So good luck everywhere else, because of the whole hierarchy of the structure put in place at the moment, legal structure that's put in place. Hopefully, I should say when, not hopefully, I don't speak that way anymore. When Trump finishes and completes what he's to do, sovereign rights have already been restored to all of America. That was his first act he wrote in Congress. I don't know if you guys paid attention to everything going on, but his first written act into Congress was to restore sovereignty to the American people. That's both a powerful thing, good thing, powerful thing, and also a temporary, possible dangerous thing, because if you think, oh, I'm a king now, I can just kill you and I can take your land and rape your woman and, you know, do all that stuff that kings think they can do because they're sovereign, that's not what sovereignty means. Not even close to what sovereignty means. And as we know, that whole word and the sovereign movement and all that stuff that I've been very part of and involved with and been on both sides of the fence and seen it all and know all the guys who've done the crazy shit. The one that stuck it out the longest is my brother Thomas Johnson, who will be coming here shortly, and the other one is Ken, who did Gemstone. And Thomas actually helped me learn to do the bonds. That made my federal case go away. Even the judge was on my side. I mean, it was just, I watch magic happen when you know what you're doing and you're not fighting. The DA was just wanted my neck on a platter, but he couldn't touch me, and it was just poetry. I mean, I just watched this go down, was like, wow, and I didn't need an attorney for this, so I didn't have to spend a dime. I mean, I lost a lot of time in my life and stress and family shit, but I learned something invaluable. And I can say for a fact, it's real. And now we have this, what's called, equity settlement. Yeah, equity settlement. Where basically, like I said, you just accept whatever they say you've created. Anything in courts that you've created has a charge or a value to it. It's got a value to it. We have CUSIP numbers on us, actually. If you guys didn't know that, we're all CUSIP'd, and your birth cert is your actual docking number when you birthed into this reality through the canal and the vortex or the portal, because literally you came in through a portal, and that is where the contract starts. You know, and if you don't get all the contracts in between now and then canceled and accepted for value, and not accepted for value because there is no value, but just accepted. It's just an acceptance process you do. You submit all the paperwork. It can take up to months to get everything filed all the way to the governors and Interpol and everybody you're dealing with, any countries you're going to travel to, your birthing countries, and your local governors and senators, and that's a few months process. Once that's done, then you can apply for your actual, you apply for your passport again, actually, at that point. And whether you have those stars in there or not, that remains to be seen. I'm working on another form of ID that's going to kind of bypass all this and expedite the process a little bit. That's compliant with all their systems and actually more compliant than they can imagine. Because what we're doing needs to be transparent. So when she mentioned taxes, I mean, like I said, we can literally go get sponsors and give them a tax write-off, give them carbon credits. They can get free marketing, huge publicity for them, and they'll probably want to give us more money for more carbon credit write-off. Yes, go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by what you're saying. And where are the stars located in the passport? Like,
it's supposed to go after your name.
After your name, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So if you know anybody that is truly debt-free and did this process and eliminated all their debt, and then reissue and then not cancel their passport, but gave it up or whatever, let it go, let it lapse, and then got it again or renewed it to get a new one.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. One of my friends is actually someone else I've worked with this for a long time, JP. He just goes by JP, but first name is John. And he too has been the pioneer in this stuff. He's the one that figured out the CUSIP numbers on us and all this other stuff. I can actually show you a website that you can run your social security number and you can find out what corporations are using your number and you as chattel property to trade right now. because they need a real entity to enter into the fiction, from the fiction into the real.
Wow.
I mean, this is real level Matrix shit. I mean, this is badass. I've got like over 400 on mine. My wife ex-wife had, she's close to 1,000 because she had Norwegian blood. But go ahead.
Yeah, just really fascinating. We're in the realm of the fairy tales here.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's all about spelling and words and how we use our grammar and our paperwork and what things mean, where they know you're either awake and you know what's going on, or you're asleep and they can do whatever they want to. And that's kind of what's happening to everybody right now. And then now it's just a stir because everybody's just really freaking out. They don't know what to do, what to believe. Now this virus thing, everybody's staying home, which is a good thing, actually. It's creating more family bonding. It's lowering CO2. Yeah. It's doing a lot of stuff. It's educating people. It's giving them time to slow down and be educated. It's probably definitely affecting the corporations, the ones we don't really want doing anything right now. There's a higher power in all this. I believe there's truly a higher power in all this, and it's being orchestrated, and we're just one piece of the puzzle. And best we can do is the best we can do. And if you're not doing it, it's not passionate to you, then walk the hell away from it. If it doesn't create joy, then move on.
I think what's really interesting about the coronavirus epidemic right now is when you think about mortality and your death, and certainly in the Northwest, we've had quite a few deaths, the first ones in America. It really forces you to look at how you're living, what you value, what is of true value. And so your whole thinking shifts. So I think I don't see it as a bad thing in relation to what I'm saying. I think kind of like what you're saying, Mike, Jeff, is that people are being forced inward into their homes, into themselves, reevaluating, re-questioning, like, how am I spending my time? What is really important for me? What is worth protecting, etc. So I also agree. I think there's higher spiritual powers work in here. I think every time there's a calamity, whether it's a bushfire, a tornado, an earthquake, a disease, it's really the spirit and the universe saying, okay, you didn't listen to that last economic recession, so here, try this virus. Like they're kind of awakeners, It's like, what is it going to take?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this virus is actually being done intentionally. It's not just, oops, the virus slipped out. This is all part of their master plan, I guess you could say. But it's also their last-ditch effort, because they've got thousands of viruses they could be releasing right now to really create havoc. But they're still trying to be strategic. They're trying to direct the attention to the Chinese and make them the bad guys, and of course take them out because they have a lot of capital investment power in the planet right now, money-wise. The United States is still stronger, from what I understand, amazingly enough. But also Mexico is way stronger, as in Russia and Mexico. Canada's kind of falling behind. But Australia doesn't want to deal with anybody coming into their country unless you're full-blooded. So that's like, they've locked that country down. So any other questions? Ronnie, I jump back to what I was doing here. I've got a million things going on here, and I want to be on later. Are we having somebody else come in? What time is it right now?
There's Spanish hour.
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
In about 9 minutes.
9 minutes. There'll be every Spanish hour.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you so much for hopping in. Your knowledge is insane, and I appreciate it. I made note of everything that I could. I have to rewatch the video to get everything, though.
Well, feel free to call me anytime. Reach out to me anytime. I'm still, unfortunately, on Facebook, but everything also is on Ring Central. If you're not there yet, someone here can invite you in, I'm sure. Dylan, Jamin, you guys know.
Yeah, I'm sure I can get your contact information from Dylan. Not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate the offer.
Absolutely.
You're so kind. You mentioned, oh crumbs, where's my note? That we're waiting for the green light on something with the tax credits. What green light are you talking about?
Carbon credits, yes. Green light is basically a little packet you can now know what to say and what you're authorized to say. You're still going to get an NDA, obviously, with Living Hope or Live Hope or both. That's up to Lawrence at this point. And the main core guys, David, Cam, and Lawrence, and Shelley, and a couple other people.
But is this in direct relation to Radish or our efforts, or is this about Live Hope?
Live Hope, Living Hope, Live Hope, both of them. Well, Living Hope is the making of Live Hope. So it's about Live Hope, the 35th anniversary of Live Aid. All the same people involved, and then some top A list that you can even believe. Everybody's coming in, everybody's saying yes. Nobody said no. And it's becoming probably going to be one of the biggest events in the history of the planet, literally, for the environment, which is really cool. And the indigenous. The indigenous is the focus because the indigenous had the environment just fine until we came along and fucked it up. So we got to get back to that. So the credits are for that. The 250 million I said was verified is for Live Hope.
Got it.
And that's at either a 3 or 15, 16, 17 to 1 possible, depending on what it is in the country. I think it's pretty high actually in Brazil. And they said it's close to $1 billion. So that's just to get the ball rolling. So that means anybody serious that really wants to dedicate 100% of their passion to this and time, we can contract you in. You can come in any one of ways, from bringing in sponsors, being active with the actual team itself on the ground, being a team on the ground to be part of Living Hope, to show what you're doing, building, creating, whatever.
So online with contracting people in, so what kind of ways can Radish incorporate itself to this, to Living Hope?
Well, that would be the best thing to do, is have you guys, the heads of Radish, talk with, well, Cam's going to be an issue, but you can talk with Lawrence at least first, get the pre-clearance from him, and he'll know how to bring you guys in, what best, and of course, he'll have questions for you guys to know more about what that is, because he's been asking me about that, as well as Don here, who wants to know more.
Okay. I mean, like,
As
I
soon
don't
as
know.
possible. I mean, we're on everything. Things are happening every day now, guys. I mean, we used to have to wait weeks for things to happen, and then every other day for things to happen. Now it's literally every day, Monday through Sunday, something is happening. Some new news is exploding. Some new person's coming on board. Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, everybody's just like hearing about this. This is epically amazing what I'm witnessing happen here with Lawrence downstairs, and what we're doing. What we're finally, I mean, Live Hope's been out for a while. It's been working a lot of avenues. It originally was World Peace One, wasn't Live Hope. World Peace One was Lawrence's thing. It became One Earth, One People, and actually partnered with Cam a while back. And then for whatever reasons, that didn't move forward enough. So they kind of just kept doing their own thing separately. And they just got back together again. And since they got back together this time, I guess it's all about timing. Everyone, I mean, how many peace things are going on the planet? How many, festivals and this and that? I mean, there's a million of them. Oh, another Live Hope festival. What's this? Another million of what? When they heard what's actually going on with it, who's involved and what's happening, not just the fact it's the 35th anniversary of Live Aid and the same people involved with that, which is an extremely successful event, biggest event in the history of live streaming, 2.2 billion viewers in one day, raised 120-some million dollars back then. That's epic. And we're about to do something much more bigger than that, and with every level of thought process and access to funding, because I can't tell you about the meetings going on right now, but the biggest are coming in on this. I mean, I can say this much. I've already been bringing in Gunther Pauly. He's funded by Elon Musk. I might even go to Musk. I'm just going to let it organically get to Musk, and he'll hear about it and come to us. And I'm very excited witnessing this happen. So that's why we need to do Living Hope, so people can see this happening. That's going to create the excitement. When people see, oh, you're not just talking about another festival, some other event, or some other Conscious Life Expo. This is the show. This is the thing. And it's every year for the next 10 years. We're not stopping. And now one of the biggest production companies just said, hey, can we do something before the event, like every month? I'm like, if you got the budget to help us, they said, we got an unlimited budget. That's a whole nother sideline thing, besides the carbon credits we're getting right now, verified. So get ready, guys. Literally, I'm telling you, the fuse is lit. Decide how and what you want to do your dream and live your dream the way you want to build your dream. And then we all discuss it as human beings mutually to agree upon things. And what we disagree upon, those pods can separate, and those tribes can do something separate, and we'll support them in what they want to do. Because in the end, the hold-ons all are under one big giant one. So we can be a million hold-ons within a hold-on and create this reality a lot faster. So the first thing we're funding, by the way, guys, is going to be NewMap, because we have to change the way we think. We got to change the mindset, because that changes the reality. Once we change our emotions, change our mindset, change our emotions that determine our mindset, because we base our emotions on our mindset, that changes our reality. Now, Gunther Pauly agrees with the same philosophy too. We got to change the way we're doing things, period. Otherwise, it's never going to change. And right now, Gunther, not only funded by Elon Musk, was just asked by Argentina to take over their entire country, fix our country here. Here's Argentina. from every infrastructure, from money to biomimicry to sustainability to food to medicine. I can post that on here if you guys want to see it. It's called Plan A.
Yes, please.
I mean, he wrote the blue economy, the green economy. You know, he's done a zillion TED Talks. Dude's just off the hook. I'll be with him when my stuff is done here. I'll be hanging with Gunther. So anywho, yeah, that's it for me at this point. I got to get back to what I was doing. So thank you for this time and your ears, and glad this is recorded for those that weren't here can listen to it. Plan A, yes, I will get that. I will get that as soon as I can, as soon as I get off now. Hey, brother.
Hey, hey, Jeff. I was just taking a little break, and I'm back now. Thanks for holding the fort.
Yeah, beautiful.
You got it. You got it. Happy to step in. I heard my name and Bucky. I'm like, oh, I got to hear what they're talking about.
Thanks for sharing what you've shared. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jeff. You'll be hearing from me soon.
You got it. You got it. I'm going to look for Plan A right now and post it up here, guys. Or
Thanks.
it'll also be on Ring Central, too. So everybody get over there. And what we should do is create, and we can do this right now. Brett's already created a room. I don't know if he wants to share that one yet. So I'll check with him, and then we'll create a, what is this group called? Where's the name of this group?
The Collective Intelligence Block Party.
Collective Intelligence. I will call it the Collective Intelligence Group, okay? Collective Intelligence Group on Ring Central. That's everybody on this. Whoever comes in on this thing on Fridays, that's where we send them. And that's the funnel in. And then when separate groups break off, yes, sir. Yes,
Jeff,
sir.
can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, correction. It's actually called the Collective Intelligence Block Party. 4 words.
I know, but I like collective intelligence. It's just collective intelligence. We can change it later. We'll call it collective intelligence for now. It's the only one of its kind on this group on Ring Central that I'm aware of. We're it. So like I said, from there we can create subgroups. I'll make you the admin or whatever. You can do whatever you want.
Awesome.
So let me get Plan A posted on here, and then I will also post it in that group. So as you guys come into that group, I will send invites to at least Dylan so you can get it out to everybody. Because I don't have everybody else's stuff yet. And that's it. Other than that, blessings to you, brothers and sisters, and thank you for our journey and venture together. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be Christmas every day shortly. Get ready.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much, brother. Woo!
Thank you for everything, Jeff. I appreciate it.
My honor, guys. My honor. Thank you.
And Jeff, Les is asking for the Plan A URL.
I'm trying to find it right now. I'm on my other Linux at the moment, so I might have to go to my laptop. I'll get it. Before I do anything else, I promise. And I'll also create that room. So I'll create Collective Consciousness and post it in both places. Plan A, Gunther Pauly. Yeah, Gunther Pauly, by the way, that's ZERI.org. If you guys don't know who he is, ZERI.org, Zero Emission Reduction Initiative. There you go. Oops, that was private to Mark. How did I do that? I don't want Mark private. I need everyone. There we go. There you go. All right, Plan A coming shortly, gentlemen, ladies.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I'm here if you have any questions till I get that Plan A up. I'll be here for a few more minutes.
Okay. And we're now at the time when, calendar-wise, we are going to begin the Spanish language hour. And
oh yay!
No, Jeff. So you're right at home. For you, that's like no problem. That's just like shifting gears on your SUV.
What I need to do is get the boys down here. Wait till you see these boys, young kids. Oh my God, they're just like white as can be. You know, they're gringo all the way, but just within they've been down here 4 years now, so I guess most kids pick it up in a year or two when they're young. They're almost practically fluent, and I'm still poco español. I can get along, I can communicate, but I'm not fluent by any means. I need to. Unfortunately, my parents or my father and grandmother, who spoke full Spanish at that time and English, used Spanish so I wouldn't know what they were talking about instead of teaching me. Which is cool. I never wound up learning it when I should have, when it was easiest to learn. So now at 54 or 3, whatever I am, I'm gonna learn.
Awesome. Yeah, I had the good fortune that I was sent to live in Spain for a year with my Spanish relatives in 82, 83. So I'm 51 now. And so I got to learn Spanish fluently then because it was full immersion. There was no one speaking English in that town in Spain. Literally no one. It was just, and so I was just full immersion. And then I lived 5 years in Mexico, as I mentioned earlier. So can't wait to.
Which part of Mexico?
I lived mostly in Monterrey in the Northeast. Also spent a fair amount of time in Sinaloa, in Culiacan.
And how did it go down there? That's where all the action is.
Huh?
That's where all the action is. Cartel, marijuana, all kinds of shit.
This was in the good old days before the big drug wars hit Sinaloa.
Oh, way back then. Wow.
I mean,
still farmland.
They were still doing lots of volume of drugs, but it hadn't become terribly violent in terms of spilling out to the more general community. It was the meme back then was these were drug cards. Any violence that was happening, which was actually significant, but it was happening between cartels. It hadn't spilled out to the general public, so it was actually quite safe at that time. This was in like the late 90s through like I was there until like early 2003 when it was just starting to get bad, and that was my cue to bug out. But anyway, I've also spent a lot of time in beautiful Guanajuato, and Lapa, Veracruz, and yeah, where.
Well, since we're doing a Spanish one, here's the Spanish version I found online of Plan A. And I'll get the English version in a few more seconds. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
English version here. Here we go. And there's the English version. Copy. There you go. Español and Inglesa.
Ah, muy bien, muy bien.
De nada, amigo, de nada.
Muchas gracias. Muy bien, muy bien. Pues muy bien. ¿Hay alguien aquí quien habla español aparte de Jeff y Jamin? Ah, James. ¿Tú hablas español? No? Okay.
Sí, yo también.
Abigail, ¿tú hablas español?
Sí, por supuesto.
Qué bueno.
Uy. I better get the boys in here.
Viví en México para 3 años, en el DF.
En el DF. Wow.
Sí.
Wow.
No, I'm down here, guys. I'll be right there. I'll be back, guys. I'm in and out, but my ear's listening. If you need me, holler out.
Thanks.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely.
Muy bien. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And Zablon, ¿habla español?
¿Qué? ¿Yo?
No,
Sí.
hay alguien quien acaba de entrar, señor Zablon. Do you speak English, Zablon? Or...
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Zablon. Buenas tardes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to meet you all. I'm calling you from Lake Chapala, Mexico. I'm south of Guadalajara, Mexico.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to be here with you guys.
Muy bien. ¿Y su nombre es Zablon?
Well, that's actually my spiritual name. That's the name I use in the spiritual world, in the Spanish-speaking people, the worldwide Spanish-speaking population.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm doing a spiritual mission, also human mission. My real name is Alfredo, so you can call me Alfredo. It's much easier for you, maybe.
Sure. Very good. Alfredo. Muy bien. Y también está mi hermano Fred. Fred, saluda en español, por favor. No, Fred, you're muted. You're muted, Fred.
Mucho gusto.
Muy bien. Y,
yeah.
Pues,
hablo español poquito.
Pero mira,
entiendo mucho.
Abigail,
hablo poquito.
Fred también vivió en el DF hace muchos años.
Sí, hace muchos años, 1964.
Era
4 meses. Estoy muy viejo.
Pero corazón joven.
Puro mexicano.
Puro mexicano, 100%. Muy bien. Y Mark habla inglés o español. Hey, Mayra, Jackie.
Hola, soy Mark, pero estoy en California del Sur y habla español porque vive en Sevilla, en España, durante el año 85 hasta el 90 y me encanta la lengua y habla alemán también, pero perdí la lengua cuando no se utiliza. So,
bueno,
nice to...
muy bien, muy bien. Okay, what I'm seeing is it looks like everyone here speaks English and only a few of us speak Spanish. Mayra es lo que estoy viendo. Oh.
Okay. Hey, how are you guys?
Good, and you?
Good. Sorry, I'm in the middle of with this meeting. I don't know how I'm gonna work this out. Maybe I could probably record this because I'm over here with the course, my earphones. So one ear is with the course and the other ear is with you.
Okay, no problem.
Alfredo, he's here. From what is he here?
Yeah.
I'm here.
He's here. Mayra, you're muted. Mayra, your microphone is muted. Your microphone. There you go. Okay. Go ahead, Mayra.
So I asked Alfredo if he would spend, hablé con Alfredo para ver si pudiera pasar algunos minutos aquí para dialogar con ustedes, que él también tiene una información importante que posiblemente nos va a compartir y es de suma importancia también que nos deje saber su teoría sobre estos, sobre el sol. Si no me equivoco, Alfredo, te cedo el micrófono. Voy a estar aquí al pendiente.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Do you want me to talk in English or Spanish for everyone?
Bueno, pues eso dependerá de la señorita Beatriz. Beatriz, bienvenida. Beatriz, bueno, dice que está conectando, todavía no conecta. Mira, here's what I have to say. If only a couple of us, if everyone here speaks English, but only 2 or 3 of us speak Spanish, or a few of us speak Spanish, it might be better to do it in English. I don't know, but let's see where Beatriz is at on the
Okay, let's wait for Beatriz.
Okay.
If I could just add to that, I appreciate that the original question comes from the original language. And I appreciate that you've taken the opportunity to gather us around the invitation, this language. So if we're going to venture into English, I would like to hear the question from the native tongue first.
Sure. So we could do kind of a mix sort of thing.
Yeah.
Say it in Spanish and then English, but let's see if Beatriz, can you me escucha, señorita Beatriz?
Sí, ya empecé a escucharlo.
Muy bien. Bienvenida, Beatriz. Disculpe, Beatriz, ¿habla inglés o puro español?
Hablo español y entiendo el inglés también.
Ok. Entonces no hay problema si hablamos en inglés.
No.
Okay, muy bien. Mayra, what do you think? Are you okay? Since everyone here speaks English, but only a few speak Spanish, what do you think?
It's up to you. I leave it up to you. I'm just going to be here listening and watching, and I'll enjoy whatever language you guys want to talk.
Okay, well, I really like Mark's idea of stating the question in Spanish and then shifting to English, and we can kind of go back and forth like that. Sound good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, awesome. And do we want to pause recording and then do a new one, Nolan?
That sounds good.
Okay, so let's go ahead and